Let's continue on with our pattern. Copy your favorite knit garment. This top. We have the front here. And we have the back because we have the back neckline included. So we're going to take another piece of paper. And that's plenty big to copy off the front and make the back. We're going to lightly crease that, find the middle. And now that we found the middle, we're going to draw our grain line. With the type of pattern paper or marking paper that I use, since it has numbers on it and little X's, I try to find the 1 or the middle of a little cross mark and use that to draw my straight line. Works out pretty well. And this grid is spaced 1 inch apart. And that's nice and handy. You can make right angles very easily. So now we have our grain line, and we're going to fold this, and then we're going to lightly crease on that grain line right in the middle, not on the edges yet, right in the middle. Let's lightly crease there. Now moving out, lightly creasing. Okay. Move out to the other end. Now we have a light crease going on. Let's do a little bit more of a harder crease. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take the pattern that we already have, the front that has the back neckline included in it, and we're going to line it up right on the fold, fold on fold, and we can take some of our pattern weights or our little tuna cans or both and place them on top. Let's go ahead and line this up. Make sure it's exactly on that fold line. Feels pretty good. That's nicely matched. So now you can go ahead and take a writing implement. A pencil is always handy so you can erase. I'm going to use a pen so we can see what I'm doing and capture the lines a little bit easier. So I'm going to trace off the bottom hem. And I'm going to trace right next to the pattern, but I'm going to keep this ruler on the paper to hold the paper down in place. Great. There's our hem. Now let's go ahead and trace off our side seam. I'm going to use the ruler again just to hold it in place. we can check. Did we get all the lines there? Missing a little bit right here. Now let's trace the upper side seam. Get a little bit more right there. Right where I messed that little line up. Now let's go ahead and trace off the armhole. Let me get over onto the other side of the pattern. Trace off the shoulder. The remainder of the armhole. And the back neckline. Great, let's just check it all. We want to make sure we have everything traced off. Look, we're missing a little bit right here in this corner. Let's trace off that armhole. We want to make sure we really know where that corner ends and starts. Then down over here at the side seam hem, we'll fill in a little bit as well. And we're going to come back and trim that corner later. So now this looks good. I have everything traced off. I'm going to go ahead and lift this pattern up. Let's go ahead and draw a grain line parallel to the one that we already have, but we can't see it because it's folded. So we'll draw another one. Or at least draw two. Put an arrow on this. And if that's our front, as we said, this is the back. This is going to be a cut one self. And we know that this is a knit jersey. And you can put your date and your name. And if you're running a company, you've got your style number, of course. So this has seam allowance in it because we copied it with the seam allowance already in here. You can see it's all over the place. So, but when we copied it, it might be mistaken for no seam allowance. So let's go ahead and cross our corners with the appropriate seam allowance that we already allotted. We have the 3/4 of an inch down on the bottom hem and 3/8 of an inch on the side seam. Three-eighths of an inch on the armhole. And shoulder. And neckline. So these look exactly the same right now. So what we need to do is remove this front piece. Right here, we need to take this off. This is the back neckline inset. And when we cut this away, we're going to have our front neckline left over, and that'll really make it the front, but it was started as our template. our front, our back. We can also go ahead and give the front and back notches. This is a knit garment, so I'm just going to go up 2.5 inches for the front armhole notch. And that's on the stitch line and from the stitch line. So in the back here, we'll go up 2.5 inches plus 3. Give it a little loop and everyone can see it. Our back and our front. And now we're going to true up the sleeve, which we can't see anything right now except some little dots. Before we do that, let's just go ahead and measure what our armhole is. Turn that clear plastic ruler on edge. And we have 8 3/4. And that is the same on the back. Now let's go ahead and true up our sleeve. For the sleeve cap, we're definitely going to need a curve ruler. I'm going to flip that curve ruler, match those curve lines. It's like a little bit of an S. This is the sleeve cap. We're going to round this part out. And that was the back. Now we're working on the front. Following those curved lines, rounding out. Then right here it flips and makes an S pattern. I'm going to blend these lines. That looks nice. And over here we want to show where does the side seam start, right, and the sleeve cap ends. Could be a little farther out, right there. Let's go ahead, let's just fold this and see what we get. I folded that a little bit far out. I think we'll go for this side. Now we're going to go ahead and draw the underseam of the sleeve. We're truing it in. Truing up our lines. There we go. That looks nice. Let's see where the other side seam ends. Or excuse me, underseam of the sleeve. Yeah, pretty darn close. This is looking really good. Let's go ahead and measure the sleeve cap right after we draw the hem. Let's measure our front sleeve cap. From the underseam, which sews into the side seam armhole area. Right now we're measuring this all over the top of the sleeve cap. And right there we are at 8 3/4. And our armhole is 8 3/4. So that's nice. Let's go ahead and measure the back, because they are not the same. That turns about 8 3/4 too, so that's great. Now, one thing that I think I would like to do is add a little bit of ease into this. I think I'm just going to move that out at least 1/4 inch. I might move it out more, but I'm feeling at least 1/4. Give a little bit more room to that sleeve cap. And sewing everything in. Alright, let's true this up further with our pen.